You made it. I saw you at Scratch.
Yeah.
So
I didn't even know what to do.
Why do you have that? What is it? He has it. I'm not sure if it's not. Big problem.
I'm gonna leave the game for that after that.
All they have to do is go to all they have to do is go to
I'm just gonna
community websites.
put it on the same side. Just at the bottom. Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna send a new slide. I feel like it looked fine to me, but I feel like they're gonna want a separate slide that says visit this.
Wait, is this on the slide? Is this on
Nope,
PowerPoint?
this was just, I opened it up because I thought it was only one.
Oh.
If I could create a PowerPoint. It's not gonna let me do that. I don't think it's gonna let me do that. Can I sit here?
Yeah, go for it. Hi, folks. Hello. I thought you were somewhere else. Is that tomorrow?
That's tomorrow, yes.
Hi. He'll be down in a moment. Everybody doing well? Yep. Good. I appreciate your coming out. Sunday we will all get our Christmas trees decorated, but not this week. Yeah. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Go down now. Okay.
She's gonna give me a warning.
I know you have to run up there.
Is anybody running this live or is it all?
Well, we have to add a second slide, so I'm doing that right now. Oh. I'm sorry. I thought you said slide.
She said, did you dial her? No, get to that, Phil? Okay, she said.
I did. Luckily, it's
We aimed earlier this time.
Yeah, if this was a 5:30 start, it was just I really was so excited. I was just looking at I was all set up, ready to go. I was like, all right.
Where are you playing?
Playing at like this loft space in Elmwood. So
Very
this is one
nice.
we have. Yeah, it's like an invitational. It's super small, 30, 40 people kind of thing.
I think that's the thing now. They have these smaller groups.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep. Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have one?
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Good, good. 6, you're good? Good?
I can hear
Yeah, I did one in New York last week. It was great. Somebody had a nice apartment. They sold it out. You know, they buy food. They charge whatever the ticket is, and people to remain quiet for it.
Well, I don't know if she's or does. I'll do 2. I think we should just put the website up down there. I think we use the other ones and then keep the first 2. Should I say 4? I think you can come down now. We're good. Right. Can you put up the first slide, which is not that one? The website one, Mike.
Cal, can you do the website first?
The website first?
Yep.
Okay.
When do you want that changed? If we're gonna have to go up and manually do it.
It will come up in the governor's when I'm talking. So we'll have this as a holder slide, and then put it up in the governor's as he's getting ready to talk. You have to manually do it.
So that's technically the second
Slide.
So then just
No. Is that HDMI long enough that we can put it in the corner?
Oh,
Like,
good
we're
idea,
gonna have to
good idea.
manually
Yeah,
do it.
Okay, thank
Not
you.
very long.
yeah, no, it is.
Oh, that's right, I'll do it around.
I'll grab
There's a ton more.
Yeah, you're good.
I just want to have it
Is that good?
hanging in the air as much as possible.
Okay.
And then this needs to go back.
Okay.
140? That's a little thing. Not too low.
I don't know why I thought I just spelled cyber wrong. I was like,
Cyber alert.
Thanks for being here, sir. Good to see you. Well, good evening, everyone, and I really appreciate the coming out on a Saturday evening. Thank you to the media for coming out. We want to really continue to update as we get timely information on the issue, and as you know, there has been a data breach on the Rhode Island Bridges system maintained by Deloitte, and we're here today to talk directly to those people whose data may have been impacted and walk them through steps they should take today to protect their personal data. So I was at an event this morning, a friend of mine that's in banking, let me know that they stand ready to help us as communities around the state of Rhode Island have contacted not only myself but members of our team, which is great. But he said last night I went online and I protected my mom's data. I changed the password on her account, and I made sure that I went to all of the 3 credit services to do that protection. So you're going to hear more about what that looks like today. But I was prompted by that conversation that there are things that can be done right now in advance of when potentially something could happen. So based on our latest information we have, the data could be exposed in the near future, as early as this coming week, based on the information we currently have. That's new information from last night. And that's why we wanted to be here tonight. We have brought in a federal expert here to provide specific actions Rhode Islanders can take right now to protect their personal data. We believe that may include anyone who has been involved in Medicaid, SNAP, temporary assistance to needy families, child care assistance programs, Rhode Island Works, long-term services and supports, at-home cost care, and health insurance purchased through HealthSource Rhode Island. Michael Tatro, where's Mike? Yes. Cybersecurity advisor at CISA, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, is here with us tonight. I had conversations earlier with all our potential contacts that will help us nationally. Congressman Langevin really thought that Mike should be the guy that is here to speak to this issue. So he will explain how identity theft works and ways you can protect your information. We know that this situation is alarming and it's stressful, and I can say that I did share some of the information after we had the press event last night with a family friend, and there was a lot of stress on that person's mind immediately, but I think that we can relieve some of that by the information that we'll provide this evening. Our team is continuing to work diligently on this issue. I can tell you that multiple meetings have happened over the last 24 hours. We have multiple meetings scheduled tomorrow with our delegation, congressional delegation, our municipal leaders, our general officers, and the list on my side of the fence, along with the General Assembly leadership, will all be brought up to speed in terms of where we are at that moment in time when we're talking to them. So, as a reminder, we've created a website where Rhode Islanders can find the latest information and security tips, and we've made the URL a little bit more user-friendly than it was last night because we had hashtags, things. I saw you scrambling out there trying to figure out what it was. So right now it's going to be cyberalert.ri.gov. cyberalert.ri.gov. And that will be the site until further notice that people can go to and get up-to-date information, and we'll be providing that on an hourly basis, which I think is important for us to be really up-to-date. This is not a daily issue right now. This is an hourly issue. So now I'll turn it over to our State Chief Digital Officer, Information Officer, Brian Tata, who can kind of fill in some of the things that have happened over the last 24 hours. Brian, thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Good evening. In light of the ongoing incident and the increase in cybersecurity threats we are experiencing together in almost every aspect of our daily lives, we've called upon one of our federal partners, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, to share some best practices that we can execute immediately to protect ourselves online from cyber criminals. The Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency was founded in 2007 within the United States Department of Homeland Security with a mission to understand, manage, and reduce risks to our cyber and physical infrastructure. Each state was assigned a cybersecurity advisor, and Rhode Island's advisor is here with us today, Michael Tatro. Michael has over 30 years of IT and cybersecurity experience in various roles, including 18 years as the IT director for the Rhode Island Army National Guard, immediately prior to taking his current role. Michael holds a BS in Computer Information Systems, an MBA in Information Technology, an MS in Government Information Leadership, and an MS in Strategic Studies, as well as numerous professional cybersecurity certifications. Mike?
Thank you, Brian, and good evening, everybody. It's good to be here. Thank you, Governor. Just tonight, I want to talk a few points about this thing, identity theft, that we've been hearing a lot about, and what actually has happened when we say there's been a data breach of our information through this incident this week. In the world we live in now, everything is very electronic. Everything is tied to numbers. That is our identity, our social security numbers, our date of birth, our home addresses, our phone numbers, right? Those are all things that are unique to us and that we hold very dear. And those are also used in many of these online services and systems that we use today, whether it's from the services you receive from the state of Rhode Island, whether it's bank accounts, credit cards, or anything else that you do where they have to know who you are and to identify yourself. So identity theft is very popular because we can then take the information about all of us and use it against us if it's not properly protected. So that's what we say when we talk about identity theft. Someone has stole those things, those numbers, those letters that make me who I am in this digital world that we're in. So it's important that we know how to protect these and how to keep them from being used nefariously by criminal actors. And there are precautions that we should be taking. Many people already do this. I personally have credit monitoring and identity theft on myself. I've had it for over a decade. It's available. They are free services out there. You should not have to pay for basic identity theft protection. There are the three popular credit bureaus here in the United States: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Again, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion are the three organizations that kind of monitor our credit. And that's what all of these companies and banks and credit cards and loan companies look to see are you credit worthy for things that you do. So it's important to engage with those online organizations to let them know that I am who I say I am, and I want you to protect my digital information and my digital fingerprint, if you will, so that it can't be used by these nefarious actors all over the world. So tonight, I would implore you, if you have not already taken a look at some of these services, certainly do that. Again, you can look at cyberalerts.ri.gov for information. They'll be putting up different information and videos on how to do this and what is credit monitoring and how do you go and sign up for that free service. In talking with the governor, it is possible that we're going to have some additional credit monitoring provided by Deloitte as part of the partnership and work that they're doing together. So again, information on that will be posted as well. So again, look at your credit and be sure that you know how to know if someone is trying to use your credit without your knowledge, right? So that's the monitoring piece. There are also ways you can go in and lock your credit so that if someone does try and take out a loan or a bank account or a credit card in your name, it will be stopped. And I can tell you from personal experience, it's worked very well for me. I've had it stopped multiple occasions. One other important aspect that you should understand tonight is how to protect your access to all of your digital accounts and everything that you do online, from your banking to your state benefits to your banking and credit cards. Everything we do seems to be online. It's very convenient. I can sign in from my phone or my laptop or anywhere and get access to all kinds of services. And it requires me to have my username and my password to say this is who I am. Unfortunately, those are also breached many times. That is, again, part of your digital identity. Your username and your password are one of those many things that make you up as your identity. So as you go to try and log into these websites, if somebody has those two pieces of information, they can log in and pretend they're you and do whatever they want with your accounts. So what we try to tell people is to take advantage of what we call multi-factor or double-factor authentication, meaning two ways to secure your online connections and your online presence. So simply just having your username and your password is not enough. You can set up through most of the services now where it will send you a code to your phone as a text message. It can send you a code as an email. It can even call you and read off a code to you over a phone if you don't have any of those technical means of doing that. And then you have to put that one-time unique code in to be a second level of authentication, right? Multi-factor, two ways of identifying who you are. And by doing that, it comes in handy because if somebody does not actually possess your phone or your phone number at your house to receive that phone call, they will not get that code to put in as that second line of defense, if you will. So if you don't have that, I implore everybody, if you have the ability to add what we call multi-factor, that's usually how it's referred to on a lot of websites, take the time to enable that. I can't stress that enough. So many times I have been out doing my assessment work and talking to people throughout the state, and they come up and say how much that saved them from having an account compromised, whether it's a bank account or a credit card or anything else. We're in the holiday season right now. Everybody's going crazy on their online shopping with Amazon and everywhere else, getting those deals. This is the time when cyber criminals are looking to prey on us, unfortunately. So be vigilant. Be vigilant with all of that. Finally, in connection with your online identity, I did talk about username and passwords. Having a long password is actually ideal. Having something that is 4 letters or 6 letters long, unfortunately, in this modern society is not sufficient. Those are easily broken and figured out. Going out 10 or 12 characters long. It's more about the length of the password than how complex it is. Pick your 3 favorite pet names, separated by a dash, and there's your long password, right? And then when it's time to change it, you just move around to your favorite kids or your favorite colors or your favorite food, right? Anything you can come up with that you can remember. Password managers, there's a lot of tools out there. I use one myself. Very handy, right? You can actually go in there and have a secure place to store your passwords instead of under a Post-it note on your keyboard. Probably not recommended. But certainly consider that. Long passwords go a long way to helping with the multi-factor. Again, all of this information will be put up on cyberalerts.ri.gov. Also in there, we'll be putting in a link to one of the great sites that I like at CISA that we have under CISA.gov, Secure Your World, secure-your-world. They have a lot of great training tools, a lot of great things that help demystify a lot of this for everybody, make it more understandable, relatable, and usable for you as you deal with this digital world and these digital criminals that we have to deal with every day. I know that was a lot to take in, but again, this will all be on the website for you to think about. Again, multi-factor, credit identity check and monitoring, and long passwords. If you take away nothing else, those 3 things can take you a long way. I'll now be followed by the Director of Human Services, Kim Brito.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This evening, I'm joining others here to share more information on ways to further protect your information and your benefits. I am Kim Brito, the Director of the Department of Human Services. I will focus on the benefits that the agency is responsible to distribute. So I want to share that DHS is continuing its mobilization efforts to revert back to paper application processing come Monday. We formally used to do this and are confident that we'll be able to help individuals in need of human service benefits and services. I should emphasize that it is important that we continue to direct people to now the cyberalert.ri.gov website for additional information that will be posted there on this breach. Right now, I understand that families and individuals feel uneasy because of this breach and wondering what this is going to do to their benefits. What the colleagues here and I are sharing is the steps that families can take to protect their benefits. Specifically, what I'll talk through next is the EBT cards if families or individuals are receiving those benefits. Although we have not seen customer information leaked, preventative measures can be taken. These fraud prevention tips and resources are available on the DHS website under the Resource tab. The website is dhs.ri.gov/resources. EBT card holders can put a freeze on their card, like our credit cards that have been discussed. This prevents the card or the benefits that are associated to that account from being used. The steps involved in freezing an EBT card involve going to the EBT Edge cardholder portal, selecting the account in Account Summary, and finally selecting Freeze the Card, the option to do that. Customers will need to confirm that they are okay with freezing the card when they are prompted to do so. The process for unfreezing is very similar, except this time under the Account Summary, you would select Unfreeze and follow that same process. Customers should be able to do this from the comfort of their home. Some other important prevention tips to protect your EBT card are to change the PIN frequently. Never give your PIN to anyone via text, via email, and always get into the practice of updating your PIN after every issuance. Those are very preventative, proactive measures to ensure that the benefits around that card remain there for you to use when you need it. If you lose your card, don't know where it is, or you think that your EBT card may have been compromised, you can also call the EBT customer service line at 1-888-979-9939. The number can also be used to change the PINs, but the EBT cardholder portal is the preferred method. So I have reviewed a lot of steps here. I just want to reference again that all of this information is spelled out on the DHS website. Thank you.
We're ready to take questions, but before we do that, I just want to point out here that we believe these are the programs of people who have possibly been breached. So if, for example, we've had lots of questions about unemployment insurance and whether they have, that is not in Rhode Island Bridge, it's not. These are the programs. So if people have had an interaction with these programs that you see, those are the ones who should be taking these steps. Okay? Lauren, did you have a question?
Yes. So to start off, if someone freezes an EBT card, does that mean they can't use it? If so, how do people access those SNAP benefits?
When the EBT card is frozen, no, it cannot be used. They would have to go in and do the steps to unfreeze it to then be able to access those benefits.
And this might be a better question for the governor. Would Deloitte be reimbursing Rhode Island for the costs associated with the hack? Do you know?
Yeah, I think, Jonathan, maybe you could speak to that. But yes, those conversations are happening, and I believe that we're making a great deal of progress on that.
Yes, Deloitte's our vendor for this. They run the system, and they are obligated to help us through this process. And for instance, as an example, obviously everything's not completely finalized, but as an example, the credit monitoring service that will be stood up and provided to those that have experienced this will be paid for by Deloitte.
Mm-hmm. And right now, do you know how much the hackers are demanding?
That is, certainly something that's happening between Deloitte and the people that are contacting Deloitte, the cyber criminals. So at this point in time, no. But I think that that conversation is going on directly with Deloitte and the cybersecurity, the cyber criminals. That's how this process works. They're learning a little bit about it. They actually have someone that they hire to talk to these people who are doing this criminal behavior, and then those conversations are going on, that negotiation is going on between them.
Okay, next up, Bill.
Governor, if you could clarify the org chart and who's in charge here. We've got your administration, federal officials, obviously the private sector involved. Who's in charge of this operation?
Well, right now I am, right? So everything flows with me, and then everybody has a different role. And that's why I've been reaching out today, making sure I'm setting up meetings with our congressional delegation, or our general offices, or our municipal leaders. So that will just extend, and that's why we've met, I think, maybe 3 times today, and I'm seeing some of the people here have met more than 3 times a day, 3 times today. So it goes through me, and then from there, we're going to continue to take each piece of this. Tonight, it's all about that notion about how we can communicate with people in advance where there may be a distribution of data that could cause harm to individuals, for them to get out and be very proactive about doing that. Personally, I had my personal information compromised a few years back, and I made sure that I was working through all the process. I had to go backwards on that, but I was able to work my way through to make sure that that was eliminated from my credit report. We're trying to avoid that tonight, Bill, right?
Have you heard from any consumer banking institutions or individuals that they suspect that there's already been any sort of breach as a result of this hack?
I'll let Brian answer that question.
This is an ongoing investigation, but we have
Over the
not
mics,
received. This is an ongoing investigation, but we have not received any information that indicates that. No.
Lastly, during the pandemic, there were a number of property owners who received funds from the state basically to pay for people who were either unhoused or unable to pay their rent. They interfaced with the broad social service system in the state of Rhode Island. Should property owners and management companies be concerned right now, or is this strictly those who have received benefit disbursements?
That was discussed today. I'll just say yes, if they have been in contact. I think even there's some small businesses, right, that maybe have been involved with the small business program at Health Source Rhode Island. But we'll make that clear. But right now, if anybody thinks that they touch any of the things that was posted up there, they should take this as a advance notice that they should be proactive in protecting their information.
Aaron.
For Kim first, so you're implying that part of this data breach could be a concern regarding someone accessing EBT benefits if they don't have the card in hand. That's a concern right now?
Yes.
What about, I know the December benefits have been distributed, and you guys say, you know, hopefully if things track out, January will be fixed, but what happens if, you know, we're taking the precautions, we're freezing the card, January 1st comes around, and we really need the money for groceries, what happens then?
So internally, we're working through that now and options that we have to do offline calculations and ensure that benefits are distributed for January. So we are working through that process now. More to come as it evolves. You know, we're planning for the system to be back up as quick as it can, but if it isn't, we also have plans on how we can continue to service our customers and ensure that benefits are delivered timely.
Thank you. And Governor, I think you said there was a development as early as last night about the possible exposure of the sensitive information this coming week. What are the implications of that, and what is the difference between now safeguarding and next week?
Well, I think that, again, getting ahead of it makes a lot of sense in the world. And whether you think that you're going to be impacted or just from a general practice, as Mike was mentioning, this is a moment where we can educate people in terms of how to do that. And the one thing I really would like, if anything you remember, cyberalert.ri.gov, right? Cyberalert.ri.gov. If that's the one thing, because then at least you'll be able to go to a place where we start and putting real-time information about how we can do exactly what you said. And that was new information, and that's why we're meeting tonight in terms of hearing from Deloitte with their negotiations, as I described, that there was an indication that information could be distributed as early as next week.
Is there anybody else? Do you have an idea with one more follow-up? Bill?
Quickly, is there a date certain for when whoever these cyber hackers are have said, hey, our demands need to be met by this date at this time, or something will happen? Are you working against a particular clock right now?
It's a moving target, Bill, right? So as you're going through all these dates, as you're leading up to the point where last night we announced that we shut down the system, took a couple hours to do it. Again, thank you to those news sources that might have been able to have that story a little quicker, because that would have put a lot of people in a very difficult spot, right? So it's a moving target. All I can say right now that early next week it could happen. And as we get more information, if that extends, we'll let people know. But the urgency is there, and I think, again, going to that cyberalert.ri.gov would be a really good tool as we move forward in this process, which is going to, it's going to go over a long period of time. Right? Anything else? And thank you for the state police being here. As you asked a question about who is. Who's involved, not only FBI, the state police, thank you for being here, all our department heads, and it'll extend past that to making sure that we're getting in touch with as many people as we can, whether it's through DBR, with the bankers. We're going to be very helpful with this as well. I think that is there another question that's coming?
Has there been any progress in cracking down on these hackers?
Has there been progress?
Yeah.
I'll let Brian answer that question as well.
Again, this is an ongoing investigation, but we continue to make progress hour over hour.
I have one more question. So is the decision whether or not to pay the ransom Deloitte's or the state's?
I'll let Jonathan handle that.
Deloitte, in consultation with law enforcement, will make that decision, and in consultation with us, I don't foresee a decision around that doesn't that doesn't violate discussions with our federal partners.
And then just to reiterate, this isn't impacting people who've applied for unemployment, TI, TCI at all. Can you confirm that?
Can you speak to look, yes, and I'll hand it off to anybody who wants to have that. We're trying to tell you that as far as this expands, we've had calls with all our cabinet members today, and the question has been asked, I was on the call with the treasurer today, right? Is my information being no. So we can say no at this point in time. It's constrained to the areas that we've posted and that we've made public here tonight.
All right, thank you
Just
very
to be
much.
clear, though, that if Deloitte is ultimately making the decision as to whether or not to pay a ransom, I think the org chart here is very important for people to understand it. If the administration is leading the operation, wouldn't it be your decision as to whether or not a ransom is paid?
Well, and I'll let Jonathan answer that. Yes, we certainly are going to know, but I can tell you, based on what I'm hearing, the negotiations are happening between Deloitte's, company that they've hired in to do the negotiations, and that's the extent of it. But we're being notified on the progress on it, and ultimately, it does end up with that decision with me. Okay, we good?
All right.
Okay,
Thank you,
thanks,
everybody.
Kim.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.